Welcome everybody back to the F1RL stream. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I believe every driver should be in their grid position. I made sure to double check it before we went in. Of course, we had a last minute disconnect. I believe it was either a disconnect or a leave, I'm not too sure. From Senor Pepe. So if Senor Pepe did manage to get back in, which I'm not too sure if they did, they might have to start in the last place position, sadly. So that will boost up everyone else's position by one that was behind them. And I believe Senor Pepe did manage to get in, but has left yet again. Sorry if it was a disconnect or something. I'm not too sure. But 1 minute you were in, the next minute you weren't. I couldn't really do much about it. We needed to get on with the rest of it. But yet again, soft to medium should be the ideal tyre strategy that all the people will go for. Red flags are off now, so it should be correct. All the settings should be correct. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Praying. So yeah, we should be good to go. Just waiting for now everyone to pick their strategies. Once again, fuel loads, setups on, etc, etc. Make sure all the drivers to have your setups on as well. It's very important. So yeah, all the drivers are now back on track. And it will be lights out and away they go. No red flag this time. We have some racing action. Smithy leads into turn 1 by the looks of it. The Alpine of POR Oliver going alongside and now overtaking the likes of Pencil Upnose. PRL, oh, there's a big collision at the back. That is a McLaren retired from the session that might force a safety car. Not too sure. It hasn't somehow. There is also a Mercedes going very slowly. Potentially no front wing on that Mercedes. I see no visible damage to the Mercedes. The Mercedes is fine. Going back to the front though, we do now see another yellow flag coming out towards the back of the pack. Looks to be the Red Bull driver of Hellfire being involved in a collision. Not too sure what happened there. Of course, now let's go back towards the pack again where we do see the Alpine getting past Viper. But Viper has the inside line. Will go for the switchback. Gets the switchback done very nicely. A lot of these drivers will be fighting for positions here, but the one stop is possible. Lap 14 to 16 will be the pit stop for the softs to the mediums. I think it will come a little bit more early than that though. But it is starting to rain. I see rain out on the track. It may not have meant to rain the previous lobby, but of course I didn't have access to the weather, so we couldn't put it identical. So we have just got dynamic, and it is a little bit wet. There is a Red Bull around. That is Duraj. Duraj seems to have had a little spin under the wet conditions as the rain starts to seep in. Latifi back up into P5 now. Of course, I believe Latifi is running very high wings. That rear wing is very high compared to a lot of other drivers. It will then yet again flash the one-stop strategy. However, with the rain starting to fall, it might not be a one-stop strategy anymore. The intermediate tyres might need to be put on depending how long this rain is going to last for. Juice is now having a little battle here towards the back of the pack with the Red Bull and the Mercedes of Night Owl. Night Owl going around the outside of all or both of them. Very impressive stuff from Night Owl there. Only manages to get past one. Can he get past the other though on this long straight? I believe DRS might be enabled this lap as Night Owl is looking towards the inside here. And looks to have got it done into the corner. Going into the corner, Night Owl will lead in P10. Will lead the likes of the Red Bull in Hellfire and the Red Bull in Juice. There is a Haas, though, that has had a little bit of a moment. Down in P9, TMG Chris D now sits. Going back towards the front, Latifi up into P4 now. Only 7 tenths behind POR Oliver. Needs to ideally catch up to Oliver a little bit quicker than what they're doing currently, though. But this is looking like it's an interesting race. The rain is still falling. The track will be getting wetter. And that is the Haas driver around off the track once again in Sector 2. Back on the track, though. No visible damage by the looks of it. Just a little bit of slidiness potentially from the wheels. DRS is enabled, though. And we do see Pencil potentially making a move on Smithy here down into Turn 1. Backs off the move. Doesn't want to make it. Just sits behind, warming the tyres, etc. Pack is now slowly starting to space out. The battle's not looking too lively currently, but the rain is still falling. The rain could easily make this race more entertaining with some pit stops coming in very soon, potentially, with the track getting a lot wetter. But then again, the temperature in these tyres, in most of these drivers' tyres, will be very high, allowing... Oh, we have seen a car... 3 cars go into the pits now. That is going to be Smithy. Latifi taking the gamble to stay out, but the track is looking a bit wet going into Sector 1. It's about pit time. If I had to say, the driver's gone in that a little bit earlier will benefit, I believe, from the likes of Smithy will benefit a lot here compared to Latifi and PR F1 Viper. It's pit territory time for the intermediate tyres. That is for sure. It'll be very interesting to see who has made the right decision here, staying out or boxing. As I'm just eating a little bit of chicken korma. Not too bad for the Thursday night. But yeah, the likes of Smithy here might have actually timed this perfectly. Look how wet that track is down there. If this rain continues, we could potentially even see wet tyres. However, I don't think that will happen. Is Latifi into the pits then? Yes, Latifi is now into the pits. Hopefully not too much time lost. PR1 Viper, though, stays out. Does he know something that we don't? Is the track going to dry up in the next 2 to 3 laps? I don't think so. The rain is still coming down. So that track is going to get worse and worse. But yeah, the likes of Smithy and Pencil Upnose making that early call going on to the intermediate tyres. That has benefited them so much compared to the likes of Latifi. That is a solid 9-second gap. Not solid, it's a solid 5-second gap, I should say. Not quite 9. But 5-second gap to Pencil, Upnose and Smithy. It's not looking great for the likes of Latifi, who was once only a few tenths behind. Those drivers that have had high wing setups on their car will be benefited a lot more, of course. Especially those that have intermediate setups, if chosen to use them, they will benefit more in the wet, of course. As we do now see Viper go onto the intermediate tyres, as well as Lizard Toes also into the pits for, I believe, some intermediate tyres. It will be the intermediate tyres for Lizard Toes. There is a yellow flag in Sector 2 though. Beginning of Sector 2, it looks to be a Mercedes car that is around, looking like it is going to be Dilb, not having a great time on those soft tyres. DRS is now disabled though. And there is a big gap forming between Latifi and Oliver, as well as Oliver and Pencil. Pencil up nose looks to be struggling to keep up to the likes of Smithy. Of course, Smithy has proven he has got a lot of pace in time trial, and he did prove it again in qualifying. But Pencil is slowly closing that gap from the massive 1 second it nearly once was, all the way down to only now a few tenths. Hopefully the lapped cars do ghost and don't get in the way too much from these leaders. But I don't think they did ghost, and Pencil seems to have lost out a little bit of time there between himself and Smithy. That gap has slowly increased just a little bit more than what it once was. Looking now towards Latifi though, almost on the back of POR Oliver. Only a few tenths. This will be a matter of time and patience between this driver to see if they can get past POR Oliver. I think they will get past, it's just a matter of when. Of course, the safest place to overtake in the wet around Spain is on that pit straight around that final corner. If you get a good exit around it, you can well and truly be on to leading going into that first corner. And that is exactly what Latifi needs to do here. He needs to turn on that battery and get past the likes of POR Oliver. And look into the inside. Goes for it, but not quite enough speed. But will have the pace on the exit, hopefully. A slight lift and a little brake check there from POR Oliver. Dirty tactics coming out by the looks of it. But that has caused... Whoa, VSC is out. Ferrari going slow. Not quite sure what happened there between Pencil Upnose and Smithy. But there has been an incident nonetheless. Something that we don't fully love to see in racing. But with Latifi on the back of POR Oliver once again, we could see a move made, crafted just after this safety car, or virtual safety car, should I say. But we do have now Smithy 10 seconds clear from second place. And looks to be green flags and racing. POR Oliver gets past the Ferrari with the damaged wing. Pencil Upnose not having a great time. Into the pits he goes. Latifi now up into third place. Massa championship potential in amongst the battle. Has managed to now get past Latifi as well. Latifi caught lacking, some would say. Massa up into P3. That lead is only now 5 seconds. 5.8 seconds. Smithy not having the best of launches off of that virtual safety car. But we could now see a wet race till the end because those clouds don't seem to be moving anytime soon, especially, and there looks to be more contact, and it will be a safety car. It will be a virtual safety car even. Juice is now missing his front wing. Not what you want to see yet again. But I will get back to my point that I was saying on the weather. The clouds do not seem to be shifting anytime soon. The rain looks to be staying for the near future, as we do get to see some lovely cinematic shots of some of these cars go around this track. This brilliant track. The best track in Spain. Smithy into the pits then. What will it be? It might be new, fresh, intermediate tyres. I feel like a lot of these drivers, especially Latifi, might want to also follow through and do the same. However, Latifi stays out. This is a golden opportunity for the likes of Smithy to make a pit stop under the VSC and not get penalised too much here. As you can see, only lost out on a few temps. Minor setback for Smithy. In terms of the 20-second pit stop that it's meant to take, he only lost about 10 seconds worth of time from his original position up in P1. Smithy now down into P6. PR Viper now leads this race with a comfortable 3-second lead. But there is a train forming between Latifi, Duraj and Massa. Of course, if Massa wins today, we will see Massa potentially come level on points with the one and only Will Manu, who is dominating this season. Nonetheless, but could we potentially see Latifi, the Williams teammate of Will Manu, get podium, maybe even a race win? It's going to be hard, but if they have the fight and they have the grit, they could well and truly do it. But it'll be interesting to see. As the Red Bull looks to line up and move down the inside, backs off, realises probably not safe to do so there. Smithy is now caught up on this pack and now is passing PR Oliver, now hunting down his positions where he needs to overtake. That is another yellow flag. That is pencil up nose around yet again on the wet tyres, on the wet tyre compound. I believe that is the only driver out on track on the wet tyre compound, as we have just seen Latifi go almost into a wall and is now missing part of the front wing end plate. Needs to box for a new front wing. It's not worth staying out with a damaged front wing, especially around Spain, such a downforce heavy track. But we now see Smithy overtaking Massa for that P2. Can Massa potentially get a switch pack though? I don't think it will happen, but going down into that first corner, ERS will be enabled for Massa, but I don't think Massa will use it to the advantage necessary. Staying in the slipstream of the Aston Martin doesn't really need to be affected by it, as Smithy hunts down PR1 Viper in the Alfa Romeo. Not too much to go, not too long to go. 20 laps, 2-second gap. Latifi in the pits. Down in P9, of course, with fresher tyres, they will be faster. It would be good to see Latifi catch up, potentially finish in that P6, P7 range. There is a yellow flag in Sector 3. That is not going to be Duraj. That is going to be Hellfire in the Red Bull car. Potentially trying to script a safety car. Not too sure. Missing a front left end plate. Again, you don't want to be missing your front wing, especially around Spain. But Smithy is flying around Spain here today. And now on the back of the Alfa Romeo, looks to be now side by side with the Alfa Romeo and has got past the Alfa Romeo. Smithy leads once again on fresher tyres. This is Smithy's race to win. Let's ride on board with Juraj then, as Juraj is getting closer towards Massa to try and take that P3 away from the driver in the McLaren. But there is going to be a safety car that has came out that looks to be pencil up nose in a wall somewhere on the track. I may have missed that due to eating food. However, Hellfire has now received a 5-second pit lane speeding infringement. And Pencil Upnose has now left the session. Into the pits goes Juraj. Massa 3-second time penalty for multiple track limits warnings. This could be Latifi's chance to catch up. No need for a pit stop. Those in front, of course, do need the pit stop. PR Oliver seems to have crashed out as well. Not fully sure how that has happened, but I think that might be a victim of the pit lane speed bump. Potentially it was. Car parked in that part of the track. Unlikely to be anything else. Of course, these drivers will need to watch out for the bump in the pit lane. This will allow Latifi to overtake at least one driver. But will it be two? Not quite enough pace from the Williams driver on that straight. But now up into P7 with a safety car. It's all the more chances of the Williams driver to catch up in this race. The likes of Juice now going in for the pit stop, but the likes of Hellfire has been lapped. Dilb also been lapped, and those two drivers will separate Smithy from Hellfire, not Hellfire, from PR1 Viper. If Smithy would like to, he probably could allow the two drivers in front to pass by pulling over off the track. However, I don't think he will allow them to unlap themselves. He could do it, be a good sportsman, allow them to have a chance at potentially finishing this race. However, I don't think he will. But we'll find out very shortly, I guess. Will Smithy go wide off the track almost to let them past? Not too sure. It could, of course, also jeopardize his race doing so. PR1 Viper could also overtake. But I don't think Smithy is going to allow them to unlap themselves here. That is a bold call from Smithy. The likes of Dilb and Hellfire might not be too happy with him. However, the game's the game. We're racing to have fun. If you get lapped in the process, it is what it is. Safety car is in this lap then. What will we see going into turn 1? Smithy has gone into the lead. That Mercedes is very far off the track there. That is Dilb allowing the cars to pass by the looks of it. But this could end up causing chaos and potentially a safety car infringement. But I also believe this is going to be Dilb and Hellfire's. Now they've been lapped by the whole field instead of it only being 1 or 2 drivers. It's going to be hard for themselves to unlap themselves. And that is Latifi spinning around. Not what you want to see if you're a Williams fan in Spain. But this has been a very wet and rainy Spain. Smithy is still leading this race then, followed by PR1 Viper, Massa in P3, Night Out in P4, E.T. Duraj in P5, Lizard Toes all the way up in P6, Juice in P7, TMG Chris in P8, Latifi in P9, Dilb in P10, and Hellfire in P11. Of course, the bottom 2 drivers have been lapped. However, they still have a chance of scoring 1 point between them both, depending if Hellfire can overtake Dilb and then Dilb overtaking Latifi. That's the only way they're going to both score 1 point. But there is 1 point to fight for between both of these drivers. 10th place, that 1 point is all up for grabs. Hellfire not too far behind Dilb. And Latifi on the back of the Mercedes driver. We did just see a 5-second time penalty come out there for Dilb. Not too sure why that happens. But now we also see a 3-second time penalty for Juice. Multiple track limit warnings. PR1 Viper though, 5 temps off of the likes of Smithy. E.T. Duraj though, slowly creeping in behind Night Owl. We'll probably try and make the move on Night Owl very shortly. Latifi has managed to make a move on the one and only TMG Chris in that Haas. As the Haas makes a late move down the inside and keeps the position very nicely. Latifi might try to go for the switchback here, but just not enough pace, not enough traction going into that corner. And TMG Chris brilliantly defends the position and brilliantly makes the overtake happen once again on Latifi. This will be a battle we need to keep an eye on. 4 cars all close together on track. Of course, 2 of them being lapped. But the Haas versus the Williams versus the Alpha Tauri. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of that battle. But let's quickly switch back to E.T. Duraj. Down the straight. What will happen? PR1 Viper looking potentially like he could make a move. Looks to the inside, doesn't go for it. Massa, similar situation. But PR1 Viper right on the back now of... Oh, and there's a spin as soon as we go on board. Commentator's curse, I guess you would say. That has allowed Massa now to sneak up into P2. Only a couple temps away from Smithy now. But Smithy still leads the race. Smithy now gaining a lot of time on Massa, almost clearing that 1 second gap. Night Owl looking to overtake Massa as well in that Mercedes, not too far away. ET Duraj though a little bit dropped off the pace a little bit, maybe lost a little bit of concentration, but there is only 13 laps to go. Potential 1 pit stop still in it on those intermediate tyres. Of course the intermediate tyres I believe will go till the end. However, they've been on those tyres now for at least 9 laps. The tyres are going to start getting worn out. When tyres become worn out, people start making mistakes. And right now, Massa is all over the back of that Aston Martin. Now looking to make the move on the Aston Martin. Has made it stick. And now Massa will lead. But the Aston Martin is going to go for the switchback down into the corner. The Mercedes now getting involved. Looking down the inside of the Aston. As we now see the Mercedes still on the inside of the Aston, getting past the Aston Martin of Smithy. And Smithy is now dropping down the order at rapid pace. Is there damage to his car? Has he lost confidence in it? We're not too sure at the moment. But we will see Duraj now try and make a move on Smithy potentially. Looks to the inside, can't quite make it done. Not enough grip. But still looks to the inside of Smithy, which is allowing PR1 Viper to get back involved in this battle, back involved in this fight. Smithy potentially looking to box this lap for some new tyres now, but won't. He continues going strong. Must have been a bit of driver error then to the reasoning why he dropped back so much. Night Owl is now dropping out of that 1 second gap margin between Massa. That normally would be DRS territory, however, with the rain coming down how it is, it's not DRS territory here in Spain today. But Smithy now back down in P3. Duraj making the move on Viper, getting it done very nicely. And now Duraj is going to be sat on the back of Smithy. And potentially is looking to make a move down the inside of Smithy going into this next corner. There is a yellow flag out on track. That is the Red Bull of Hellfire yet again having another spin. Looks to be lapped or going to be lapped twice now. As there is now a yellow flag in Sector 3 once again. And now a yellow flag in Sector 2. I think potentially these two drivers in the Haas and the Red Bull are trying to cause a safety car. I'm not too sure. If they are, it will be looked into by the stewards and penalties will be given out. And especially harsh penalties. But Smithy now into the pits. He sees the yellow flag out. And is thinking maybe a safety car is here to come. But Smithy into the pits. That might also be Latifi into the pits as well. It won't be Latifi into the pits. But Latifi is having a solid race so far. Probably needs to pit one more time. But however, probably could stay out till the rest of the race. It all depends on tyre wear. If it's above 50, I would recommend making a pit stop as soon as possible. TMG Chris has retired inside of the pit lane though, which won't bring out a safety car, but it will bring out an AI, potentially an AI driver back out onto the track until they pull over. So hopefully that AI doesn't get involved in any drama, unless it is just going to stay inside of the pits. I'm not fully sure. It has stayed inside the pits. I think that is the first time I have seen that this year, that it hasn't driven back out onto the track. But Massa will still lead this race nonetheless. However, into the pits Massa will go. The undercut is going to be strong here from Smithy, but will it be strong enough to catch up to Massa and potentially jump Massa? This is where we'll find out very shortly. The Red Bull of Duraj also into the pits. Latifi into the pits as well for wet tyres for Massa. Very interesting. Let's check Smithy's tyres quickly. It is going to be intermediates. So wet tyres for Massa. Maybe Massa is seeing something that we're not seeing. We will have to look at Massa's timings with those wet tyres. But there is a yellow flag in Sector 1. Please don't be Duraj. That is span around. It's not Duraj. It is going to be Hellfire. Hellfire, as long as he finishes the race, will be guaranteed a point nonetheless. But Juice is now in P2. Night Owl leads the race with 9 laps to go. PR1 Viper though looking to make a move on Smithy down the inside on the wet tyres. The wet tyres seem to have a lot more grip than those intermediate tyres. Is it wet tyre conditions out on track? Juice into the pits. Will it be the wet tyres? A lot of these drivers now are fighting on the wet tyres, having pace on them. Will it be wets for Juice? It will be another set of intermediate tyres. But with the rain coming down as hard as it is currently, I think there might be a lot more wet tyre choices here. Night Owl, of course, on the intermediate tyre compounds. 10 laps old. He could bring it round to 18 laps, but those tyres are going to be screaming for grip. I've never seen intermediate tyres go for that long. However, the wet tyre compound is gaining a lot of time on those around it. That is a car off the track, and it looks to be Latifi. Latifi off the car, VSC deployed. That could be the perfect time for Night Owl now to pit for some wet tyre compound tyres. Already we've seen the pace of them, with the likes of Massa and Viper catching up to the intermediate tyre compounds. So we could well and truly see a pit stop made from Night Owl here onto the wet tyre compound. It is going to be a pit stop. He has avoided the bump very nicely. He has been given a 3-second time penalty there, but I'm not quite sure why. That will have to be looked at the end of the race. But it will be the wet tyres. And as long as the track doesn't go green this second, we could see Night Owl continue to lead this race. But it's going to be close. Will he beat the likes of Smithy out of the pits? He will. Night Owl comes out in P3 after that VSC stop. A lot of drivers now on wet tyre compounds. As we have gone green, we are back to racing conditions. Duraj will be looking to make a move on Smithy. Let's see how Smithy can handle the heat. Does he have the ability? The wet tyre compound looks to be gripping to that track a little bit better than the intermediates. A little bit of a front end sway there from Smithy. I think it is going to be the wet tyre compound with the extra grip. Look at the grip advantage ETE Duraj has there. Is able to make the turn so much faster. Gains on every corner. Not the best of lines going through that last corner though. Or penultimate corner to finish the lap. However, on the straight, Battery will be enabled. The move down to the inside leaves Smithy in the dust once again. Smithy is cursed. Can't get a podium nowhere. Everywhere he goes, currently struggling to get that podium result. Intermediate tyres though, just not quite as fast as where they would like to be. The wet tyre compound is rarely used in Formula 1. However, it's being used right now and it is a lot faster. Well, with this happening, it looks to be Massa's race to win. However, not quite sure if it will happen. Bearing in mind that 3-second time penalty. But Night Owl's on the back of PR1 Viper here though. And this could be an overtake made on the straight. Let's ride on board in the onboard camera. Don't think the Mercedes quite has the pace going into that turn 1. But potentially will get him up into turn 5 here. Entering sector 2 now. The Mercedes still within half a second of that car in front. As that gap is slowly being eaten. Down to almost 3 tenths at times. The Mercedes driver with, of course, those 3-lap fresher tyres. The grip advantage is a lot more. Goes for the move on PR Viper. Down the inside. Looks for the inside. Gets the inside. Will it be the move made? It looks to be the move made. Avoiding the switchback. Defending that inside line perfectly there. Night Owl on the exit. And that is Night Owl up into P2. Free to fight against Massa. Of course, after penalties are applied, let's quickly have a little look on penalties. Both of these front drivers have a 3-second time penalty. Of course, Night Owl within that 1.8 seconds of Massa's 3-second time penalty. Just needs to clear Massa and then a further 3 seconds in only 4 laps. I don't think it is possible. So as long as Viper stays within that 3-second gap of Massa, we could well and truly see Viper win this Grand Prix. I believe pick up their first win this season in F1RL. I will double check the stats on that, but I think I could be well and truly correct here today. Let's quickly find out the stats on it. So we do have the likes of PR Viper currently sat on 0 points in the championship, according to what I can see here. So this will be Viper's first points this season and potentially a race win as long as they stay within that 3-second time penalty gap. If ETE Duraj can pick up the pace just a little bit more as well, we could well and truly see ETE Duraj pick up a podium for the first time this season as well. I have been informed by Dylan that he has actually never won. So we could well and truly see Viper win a race for the first time in F1RL history. But we also could see Massa win a race as well Yet another one to Massa's list. But the gap is only 2.5 seconds. Needs to clear 5 temps between Night Owl and PR1 Viper to potentially have a chance of winning this race. As we will switch to the time telemetry enabled with lap data disabled, and we'll have a leader interval so we can see where that penalty will, or where the penalties will put the drivers in place. So Viper looking very close to the end of that penalty, that 3-second penalty of Massa, but not quite gaining enough yet. Juraj within the 3 second, or just outside of the 3 seconds of Night Owl's penalty. However, needs to pick up the pace just that little bit extra. Track seems to be drying a little bit more. Intermediate tyres will be faster, I believe. However, I think it's too late. The wet tyres prevailed in the wet conditions, and it seems to have forced a lot of these drivers onto the wet tyre compounds. But everyone that is in this race currently, as long as they do finish the race, they will be given championship points, or points towards the championship. But as it looks, Viper has well and truly dropped out of that 3-second gap of Massa. So Massa could well and truly win this Grand Prix here, even on track and on penalties. But all these drivers now very far bunched out from each other. Closest two drivers on track are Latifi and Lizard Toes. I will be disappointed if Latifi can't get past Lizard Toes. That is for sure. However, we will find out very shortly if that can be possible and if it will be made possible. ET Juraj now is right on the back of PR1 Viper. Something I did not expect to see anytime soon. Juraj looking to potentially make a move on the Viper on the last lap for a spot at the podium. Will it be made on the pit straight then? ERS advantage is in Juraj's way. 30% versus 50%. Last lap of the race. Juraj needs to really burn that battery now on this straight. Use as much as possible. Viper will be doing the same to potentially have the chance at leading or staying in front. But it is going to be wheel to wheel into the first corner. And it will be the Red Bull that sticks his nose in front and takes the position. But in amongst all this fighting, that 3-second gap that Night Owl needed looks to have came into play, and it could be a Night Owl P2, Massa P1, with Juraj finishing in P3 as it stands. Massa and Night Owl need to keep on moving, get as much a gap as possible, because right now it is very close between who will take it on track. Will it be Juraj? Will it be Night Owl? Will it be Massa? Will it be Viper? It's going to be close. It's going to come down to the wire on track limit penalties. That is for sure. Of course, some of these drivers will try appealing their penalties, their track limit penalties. Some might be given double warnings. Some might be given warnings for cutting the pit lane, even though they weren't cutting the pit lane, and be given penalties because of it. We'll find out though after in the stewards will inquire about it. But it is going to be Massa that takes the race win. E.T. Duraj will take P2 on track. Night Owl will take P3. PR-F1 Viper will take P4, just missing out on the podium by a whole second worth of penalties. Or by a whole second on track anyway. Smithy will come in P5. Juice will come in P6. Latifi did get past Lizard Toes and will come home in P7. Dilb will then finish P9 after being lapped nearly 2 times, I believe. I could be wrong, but I know for a fact Hellfire was definitely lapped 2 times. But that will be our race order. Congratulations to Massa for winning the race and making the championship a little bit more spicy. I am going to give you the driver of the day as well, considering you qualified in around P10, 11ish. So congratulations to Massa for winning the Spanish Grand Prix. But here will be our finishing order for the Spanish Grand Prix. Massa will take P1 after coming back from a P10 start. Duraj will come P2 after starting in P5. Night Owl will come P3 after starting in P9. Viper will finish 4th after starting 4th. Smithy drops down to 5th after starting on pole. Juice comes 6th. Latifi in 7th. Lizard Toes in P8. Dilb in P9. Hellfire in P10. TMG Chris in the Haas in P11. PR Oliver in P12. Pencil Upnose. HSBCFH as well, or also known as Harbs, in P14, with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DNFs around wet and windy Spain. But that will be our race results, our race finish. Thank you all for joining our race in Tier 1 Spain. I've been Will Manu. The championship fight is back on, thanks to Massa. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.